There are stories that sound so unbelievable, so fantastic, that you have to think they're made up. Today, I'm going to tell you one of those stories, and you'll have to figure out whether it's true or a lie. That morning began with an ominous silence, the kind that always comes before catastrophe. Sarah laced up her running shoes with the mechanical precision of a woman who could only numb the pain through motion. The divorce papers still lay untouched on the kitchen table of her vacation rental, while outside, the Pacific hurled its first warning waves against the cliffs. The deserted beach stretched out before her like an endless canvas of gray sand and foaming surf. She had heard storm warnings, but what was a weather alert compared to the storms raging inside her? With every step on the wet sand, she felt the salty air fill her lungs, easing the agony of the past few months. Then it happened suddenly, brutally, like a nightmare breaking into reality. A single wave, twice as high as all the others, rose from the seemingly calm sea. The rogue Wavenature's vicious anomaly, born from nowhere, raced toward her with terrifying speed. The impact was so violent, she first thought she'd been hit by a truck. The raging water slammed her to the ground, spun her like a rag doll, and dragged her out into the open sea with merciless force. Her screams were instantly swallowed by the crashing surf as she fought desperately against the current. Brief interruption. At this point, here's the reveal of the last unbelievable story about Frank, who cheated death 7 times even though each single event could have been enough to kill him. Who guessed it? Yes, this story is true and not fiction. Back to Sarah's unbelievable story, something you couldn't imagine even in your wildest dreams. Something hit the back of her head. Stars exploded in her vision as the world sank into merciful blackness, the ocean pulling her further into its endless depths. Waking up felt worse than any nightmare. Sarah floated on her back, clinging to an orange-red plastic container tied with thick rope. The sun scorched her face as her lips cracked open. Salt water burned her throat, and each breath felt like hot coals. Thirst became an obsession that overwhelmed every rational thought. Hallucinations kicked in. Her mother waved from the horizon. Voices called her name. By sunrise the next day, Sarah was more dead than alive. But then, as if by miracle, a small island rose from the endless blue. Jagged rocks, thick green jungle, and a narrow beach promised salvation. With what strength remained, she paddled toward it. The surf tossed her onto sharp coral, but she fought through and finally crawled ashore on all 4 scrying tears of pure relief. Under a rock overhang, she found shelter from the burning sun. Her body shook uncontrollably. Her skin was blistered and raw, but she was alive. That first night on the island was a battle against panic. Strange noises echoed in the darkness, screeching birds, rustling palm leaves, and the ever-present crash of waves. With the first light of dawn came an instinct to survive. She explored her prison island and, to her unspeakable joy, found a crack in the rocks where crystal-clear fresh water slowly dripped. She gathered everything the sea had thrown ashore: driftwood, torn fishing nets, plastic bottles, ropes, even sun-bleached flip-flops. From the wreckage of civilization, she built a primitive camp beneath the rock shelter. Coconuts and wild papayas eased the worst of her hunger. She learned to catch tiny fish from tidal pools. 3 weeks passed. She had transformed from helpless victim to gatherer and hunter. Then came the day everything changed. A washed-up plastic bottle held a treasure more precious than gold, a half-working lighter, and some old cigarette butts. After drying it in the sun, she sparked her first fire. For the first time since she arrived, she felt hope. Each evening, she lit a signal fire, its smoke reaching high into the sky. On the beach, she arranged rocks to spell a massive SOS, just like in old movies. 8 weeks passed. Sarah had learned the tides, read the weather. Her body had become lean and strong, but her mind began to suffer under the crushing isolation. On day 58, early in a stormy morning, the impossible happened. A small fishing boat fought through the wild surf. The old fisherman saw the faint smoke from her fire and steered toward the island. Sarah ran down to the shore, waving a burning branch. When she finally sat safely in his boat, she broke into uncontrollable sobs. The hell was over. The harbor town was just waking as the boat returned. Sarah, emaciated and wrapped in torn clothes, looked like someone from another time. No ID, no passport, only her name. She was nobody in the modern world. A local charity took her in. The authorities logged her case with bureaucratic precision. Doctors examined her. 58 days had turned a former office worker into someone harder, sharper, someone who had seen things few could imagine. In a modest hotel, she began her recovery. A social worker searched online for similar cases. One article froze Sarah's blood. 3 years ago, a tourist named Marcus Kellerman had vanished while island hopping. His route matched her island exactly. Contacting Marcus's sister opened a door into grief and unanswered questions. He was an experienced adventurer. He wouldn't have gone unprepared. Sarah felt the urge to return. Maybe she'd missed something. She convinced the fisherman to take her back. The island looked smaller now, less threatening. Her fire pit was overgrown. The SOS message had long since been erased by the tides. With precise determination, she searched the back of the island areas she hadn't explored before. She found nothing at first, no trace of Marcus. But as she prepared to leave, she glanced up toward the cliffs and froze. High above the tide line, she saw another SOS made of stones. Older, weathered, laid by someone long before her time there. Her heart raced. She climbed to the spot. The stone pattern was crude, but clear. Someone else had stood here once, begging for rescue. Someone desperate enough to drag heavy rocks all the way up the cliff. How many people had been stranded on that cursed island? How many had fought, hoped, prayed? How many had died unseen, unknown? The return to the mainland was silent. Sarah reported what she had found, but authorities showed little interest. Marcus was officially dead, his file closed, just one more name lost to the system. At first, the media showed interest, but without mystery or new drama, attention faded quickly. Sarah was grateful for the quiet. She'd had enough of questions and pity. She moved to a small coastal town, became a tour guide, and told her story sometimes. But the real lesson of her experience? She only shared that with a few. At night, when the ocean breeze carried salt through the air, she thought of Marcus and of the unknown person who had left behind the older SOS. They were part of a silent brotherhood. Survivors and the lost, all bound by the same cruel truth, the indifferent brutality of nature. Truth, or just fiction? You'll find out when we meet again for the next unbelievable story. If this story fascinated you, give me a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Truth, or just fiction?